Welcome. You have reached review time with Imperial, and today's review will be Spider-Man No Way Home. Let's get into it. So, this movie has been anticipated for some time. And before we get into it, subscribe to the channel, like the video just off the bat, just because it's the Christmas holidays. But let's get into the movie. So, this movie's been anticipated all year long. And several big time YouTube channels have been putting so many trailer videos and did so many videos on this movie that it kind of gave away everything that was anticipated about this movie. So everything that I seen in this movie, I pretty much knew what was going to happen from all the other videos that I watched. It just watching it all play out. So you had Spider-Man at the end of the other film where Mysterio put a video disclosing who Spider-Man was, Peter Parker. And so now this is the after effects of this. So you see Spider-Man dealing with people actually knowing who he is, that he's the real Spider-Man. And you get a cameo appearance from Daredevil because he is a lawyer. So that pretty much got him off. But by now, what it's doing is everybody know who he is and who his friends is as well. And so they all wanted to get in MIT and they couldn't get in because of their affiliation with him. So he thought the idea to go to Doctor Strange, use the time stone to reverse time and let everybody forget who he is. So Strange pretty much was like, no, you can't do that. And you should have just went and appealed it pretty much first. And he spoke to Wong, and pretty much Wong told him, hey, don't do this. But it also speaks to while Strange was erased for 5 years, where Wong became a more powerful sorceress. So he had other things to deal with. So what you find out is Doctor Strange pretty much goes and he's making this spell to make people forget Parker, but Peter's saying, hey, I still want my friends to remember me. So he's messing up the spell, and then it broke up in 6 different ways. And so he thinks everything is cool, but as he goes and he's going to see the MIT admissions lady, he sees Dr. Octopus. And so they get their fight scene on. But now Dr. Octopus notices this is not the Spider-Man from his world. So the multiverse has happened now. And so this Spider-Man has different gadgets with his suit than what Dr. Octopus is used to. So that's what you start to see. And then after fighting Dr. Octopus, you see Green Goblin. And then Dr. Octopus recognizes him, but he looked at him, he known him to be dead. So now Doctor Strange pretty much said, you need to capture all these guys that came from the multiverse, bring them here, and then we can send them back to their worlds. Now what Peter's ideal is, all of them die in their world. So his thing is that we can save them here. That way we can cure them here from whatever evilness they got. So that way when they go back in their world, they can live on. And so that causes a whole bunch of friction and everything. And so that's what the main thing is. And he's trying to help all these people when they go back into their world. So you had Jamie Foxx, where he came in, he plays as Electro. Then you had the lizard guy, and of course Dr. Otto Octavius. And you had Sandman and the lizard. And you also find out that his boy Ned can create portals. So when he seen Doctor Strange, he kind of mentioned his grandma, told him something about powers, and Doctor Strange pretty much blew him off or whatever. But he can open portals, so he got something in him as well. So I guess they're going to tap into that at a later time. However, the movie goes on, and while Peter, the current Peter, is trying to cure all these different villains from the multiverse, the Green Goblin pretty much is still devious. And so he ended up rebelling. But not before he got a chance to kill Aunt May. So that was like the downside of everything. Aunt May died. And so at that moment, Peter went into a dark place. Meanwhile, Ned and MJ, Michelle, Jane or whatever. So now they know he could find portals. They're trying to open up portals to find him. So when they go into the portals looking for Peter Parker, they go into portals pulling out the Peter Parkers from other multiverses. So you have Andrew Garfield from the Amazing Spider-Man, and then of course the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. So he pulls them out, and it was cool to see that these other Spider-Mans that play Spider-Man, they brought them back in this one. So they made this even more epic, and then they finally met up with the current Peter Parker, and they all, talking. They got good dialogue with each other, and they find out where Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, his webs come actually out of his body, versus they have to create where the Amazing Spider-Man, he had to create something. And pretty much in the Marvel world of Spider-Man, his was looked at like the wackest. The Amazing Spider-Man was looked at as the wackest Spider-Man. So they had some good dialogue that allowed them to talk about like how his Spider-Man is looked at as the worst one. And so they was trying to like give him encouraging words like, nah man, you great, man, let me hear you say it, you great. So that was cool, that because I think his Spider-Man really only got one movie, I think, if I'm not mistaken, where Tobey Maguire's had three. And the current Tom Holland's Spider-Man, this is his third one. And so I think Andrew Garfield, his only got one, where his was Electro and basically Hobgoblin. Well, no, he had a green. His character was different in that one. Yeah, he did have a Green Goblin. It was just a different character or whatever. So yeah, man. So like I said, Tobey Maguire, he had three, and they asked each other who was the toughest villains that they had all fought, and they pretty much like you've seen all of them, but you hear Tobey Maguire mentions about the symbiote, basically mentioning Venom, the symbiote from Venom. So you hear him mention that. So that was dope. And then of course they had to collaborate to link each other together so that they can finish the cure of curing everybody. So once they were able to start curing all the different villains, Doctor Strange came in. He seen that Ned had the powers, and then he's seeing that the multiverse is expanding. Now you're getting people coming from all over. So Tom Holland Spider-Man went up to him, basically said, you're going to have to put in a spell that says you forget Peter Parker, period. And that will work. And so Strange agreed, and so he basically told him, you only got a couple more minutes before I finish. So he went down there, and it showed Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield hanging together, and he basically said his goodbyes to them, gave them both a hug, and they basically both looked at him like, yeah, this is what we do. And then he went over to Michelle, Jane, and Ned, and pretty much told them what was going to happen. Basically told them he'll find them in the real world, even though they won't remember him. And so it went through, and of course Aunt May is still passed away. He goes to her grave site, and pretty much Happy was there, but of course Happy doesn't recognize him. And Happy mentions basically he lost Tony, and he mentions that, and now he lost Aunt May, and then he pretty much asks how did he know her or whatever. So he couldn't say how he knew her. And then he went and found MJ and Ned, because MJ worked with her dad at the store, and they both got into MIT, and he was already, you know, introduced. I thought how they was gonna make it happen where Ned and MJ was girlfriend and boyfriend, which would stop him from intervening. But it just made it look like they were friends, and she had this weird look looking at him, and he had a weird look looking at her, and he had some dialogue, but he didn't try. He had a speech prepared, but he didn't even try. He just pretty much, you know, she looked at him funny, he looked at her funny, and he stepped off and left. And he moved into an apartment and set things up in the apartment, and from there, it just shows him in the snow or the winter flying off. Of course, now nobody knows exactly his identity. So pretty much whatever happened with the Avengers knowing who he is, that's all erased now. So he's pretty much Spider-Man still, but nobody knows who he is. So it pretty much showed him creating a suit or whatever. So I guess the high-tech suit that he had with the nanos, it's no longer a thing. So of course it's supposed to be another Spider-Man where Spider-Man and Venom link up together, so they fight Carnage. So it's that won't be the end of Tom Holland and Spider-Man. So overall, good movie. It's going to break records. This movie's going to break records. All the theaters that I've seen across the scale was like packed, sold out. So this is definitely going to break records, this movie. Overall, good movie. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. My 4-star rating system, I give this movie a 3.5 out of 4 stars. A good watch. Till next time.